What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today I'm going to talk about the fact of us closing the door on the Philadelphia Eagles after an exciting and entertaining win. The fact that we gave them that, took away their undefeated streak, very, very good. But now it's time to focus in on the Houston Texans and what we're going to see against these guys. This is not what I would consider a trap game. This is a game where if we aren't on our P's and Q's, we can mess around and lose this game. There are factors in this game that can play very well to the Houston Texans' strength and actually take advantage of our weaknesses. One thing I will say is, like, defensively, Jerry Hughes, who went from Buffalo to the Houston Texans, has not missed a step. I mean, he has 8 sacks in the season and he has 9 tackles for losses. I mean, this guy is a devastating player, and playing opposite of him is Rasheem Green, who's just as good. He may not be at the level Jerry Hughes is right now, but he's somebody who can be a massive disruptor. Then in their secondary, you're talking about their secondary is probably one of the best tackling secondaries you could even imagine. I mean, they got a guy, they got Jalen Petrie, which is one, but Jonathan Owens, I mean, all this guy does is tackle. All he does is tackle. And in fact, I think he's their leading tackler. I think he got 80 tackles. I think he has 80 tackles, but he's their leading tackler in the Houston, and their entire secondary are high in tackles. Like, all of them tackle. But again, this is a game that we could mess around and lose if we take them lightly. And of course, like I said, you know, Lovie Smith and I think it's Romeo Crennel is their defensive coordinator. But they are that defense plays very well to certain strengths. But I also feel that at the end of the day, like, this team is a team that people do get that does often get slept on, but people don't understand what exactly they're sleeping on, and they can be a problem. And finally, after all the conversations I've had, after I've told you guys about this guy over and over and over again, we finally get to see Pep Hamilton. Now, I'm going to tell y'all about Pep. Pep is one of the best in-game adjusters. Not only that, he's also a guy who will take advantage of your weakness. So with that being said, do not be surprised if we see Benjamin St-Juste get a lot of penalties against him. Don't be surprised when we sit up there and see that Pep Hamilton scheme up plays to get Benjamin St-Juste one-on-one with Brandon Cooks. Trust and believe he will find ways to get it done. Should it be some type of weird pick play, rub play, whatever, he will find a way to force that type of adjustment, and it will happen. So, like I said again, this is not the team to be playing around with. Damian Pierce, he's unbelievable as a running back. And if we aren't on our game and we're not intent on stopping that run, we're going to be in trouble. Now, I will say this on the opposite side of it. We do have, we need Scott Turner to be dialed in again. Just like he was in the Philadelphia game, we need him to be dialed in this game. That means if something is working, stick with it. Don't get greedy. Don't feel the need to have to press. If it's working, just keep going with it until it stops working. Pep will do that. Pep will come out and run a play, see that it works, run the play again, see that it works, and he'll run it again. He has no problem repeating plays at all that's working. He showed that, and he shows that all the time. So again, we can't sleep on this team, and they actually score more points than us offensively. So that's another thing we can't sleep on. If we're going to do this whole thing in this song and dance about only scoring 17 points a game, hey, this is not the team to do it against, because they actually do score. So, oh man, this is one for the ages, y'all, because again, this is a game that we really need to get in and actually take control of, take advantage of, and keep us on pace to possibly making the playoffs again. And I'm it's crazy that I'm saying this, but Washington has an opportunity to actually keep pace to make the playoffs and actually do something in this season. So again, we need it. You're talking about at this point right now, this team is playing very well right now. The defense is playing well. The offense is playing well. Well, I mean, I understand that some people had a Taylor Heineke issue, but even with that being said, he's still playing well enough to get us the win. And to be quite honest, we have to stick with it. We cannot play with this Houston Texans team at all. Cornelius Lucas needs to be on his game. If Cornelius Lucas is struggling against Jerry Hughes, put a back or a tight end next to him to slow Jerry Hughes down. Because if you don't slow Jerry Hughes down, we're going to have a long day. You cannot play around with this team. And like I said again, if at any point, I'm telling you, because if Pep finds a hole, he's going to exploit it. It could even be something as minor as Kendall Fuller not being able to out-jump Nico Collins. It could be something as simple as that. Brevin Jordan. We currently don't really know what Cole Holcomb's status is at this point, but Brevin Jordan could play a role if John Bostic is in the game. If John Bostic is in the game, Brevin Jordan might be a factor in this game. And we cannot have Brevin Jordan being a factor in this game, especially across the middle. So again, it's a tough one, y'all. This is not a walk in the park. This is not an easy team to face. This is not an easy team to go up against because, yeah, they may be 1-something, but understand this is not any 1-something. I think they're 1-7. It's not any 1-17. This isn't any 1-17. This is, no, I think they're 1-7-1. That's what they are, 1-7-1. But this is not any type of team at this point. I mean, this is a legitimate team. And this is a team that, again, when it comes to the coaches, they can actually mess around and outcoach our staff. So we got to be on our P's and Q's with this game. Stop Jerry Hughes. Again, if Cornelius Lucas is struggling with Jerry Hughes, give him some help over there. Same thing with Rasheem Green. If Charles Leno's having issues, get him on there. Like I said again, this secondary, they don't give up. They don't miss a lot of tackles. They make a lot of tackles. So that's something that we really have to pay attention to. Last but not least, I'm gonna talk about this because of Ron's comments and because of what I hear all the time about Taylor Heineke. I said it once and I'll say it again. Taylor just gives us the best chance to win. And I know that a lot of times everybody looks down on that because it's Taylor Heineke. You know, he's gonna give up the interception. He's gonna throw an interception, all this type of stuff. I get that. But you have to understand something. Since this guy has been our quarterback, we've only known really, and to be quite honest, is winning. You know, he's the only one that has won under this coaching staff. There hasn't been anybody else that has done it. And the fact that we're talking about Taylor as though he's like, it's almost like he's one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in the league. You know, nobody ever sits up there and talk bad about other quarterbacks. Like nobody is putting any type of pressure on Aaron Rodgers all like that. You know, every time people talk about it, it's like, oh, well, they still got it. Aaron Rodgers is still there, even though nobody's talking about how bad he's playing. You know, nobody's talking about really how bad Derek Carr is playing. But when it comes to Taylor Heinicke, it's like the man is like a beat down guy. Taylor Heinicke, and this will open up a lot of eyes when I say this. Taylor Heinicke reminds me a lot of Doug Flutie. And I know that sat up there and woke and lit the light bulb for everybody just a minute ago. But Doug Flutie, for y'all who don't know, was a quarterback who was in the NFL, was basically booted out of the NFL because they talked about his size and his arm strength, and that, you know, his ability to run wasn't enough in the NFL, and his ability to motivate teams wasn't enough. So he ends up going to Canada, has a successful career in Canada, then comes back to the NFL. In the process of coming back to the NFL, he was just as disrespected as Taylor Heinicke. No matter how much winning he was doing. He was in Buffalo, and I think his first year he went, I think they went 10-6. And I remember they drafted the quarterback Rob Johnson. A lot of y'all remember Rob Johnson because he was here in Washington at some point. He's one of our many quarterbacks that has been here. But they drafted Rob Johnson, and Rob Johnson reminds me everything of Carson Wentz. He was the big guy. He had the strong arm. He had the most potential and things like that. But when it came down to Doug Flutie, he would get disrespected over and over and over again. And all he did was win. Then all of a sudden, the second season come around, and guess what? Doug Flutie goes 11-5. One of his wins was against the Washington playoff team. Because they sat up there, and that game, if I can remember, I think they actually blew us out that game, because I think it was 34-17. I think it was 34-17, but I do remember that in that game, Doug Flutie was basically running around, and I think Antoine Smith was the guy who had the big plays on us, because I think he had 2 touchdowns in that game. But again, Doug Flutie was just disrespected. Then in his third year, the Bills was, and I remember, well, let me go back, because that in that 99 season, Rob Johnson won a game. So then the following season, the Buffalo Bills put Rob Johnson in as the starter, and the Buffalo Bills go downhill quickly. And I think that Rob Johnson ended up losing I think he lost 7 games. And then all of a sudden they had to put Doug Flutie in. Doug Flutie ends up winning 4 games for him. And I think they ended up taking him back out and put Rob back in. It was something like that. But my whole point is that Doug Flutie was one of those quarterbacks who was disrespected just like Taylor Heinicke. It didn't matter how much he was winning. Only thing everybody focused on is, oh, he threw a pick. Oh, it was this. Oh, it was this. And it always seemed like Doug Flutie was always one game away from being benched. One unsuccessful game away from being benched. And that is something that we have to stop. That is something that I think Ron has to stop. That is something that everybody has to stop, because we can see that this team has more energy and more passion with Taylor Heinicke at the helm than they did when Carson Wentz was at the helm. They didn't have it. They didn't show that same level of passion, and we can downright say it that Terry McLaurin wasn't targeted as much. So for all that, y'all, let's chill on Taylor Heinicke and give him a real chance. Give him a real chance to actually win this job, because again, he could have went 4-0, but he went 3-1. Understand that when Carson went out, we were 2-3. So again, you're talking about Carson had 5 games and went 2-3. Taylor gets 4 and goes 3-1. That's pretty impressive, y'all. That's pretty impressive. And we got to think about all that. we can't sit up here and think and always give him the one game solution, because again, you can mess around and say he plays bad in Houston. Let's just say he plays bad in Houston or Atlanta. Let's just say Houston. Let's just say he plays bad in Houston. And then all of a sudden you bench him in favor of Carson Wentz. It's not like what we saw in Carson Wentz was good anyway. It's not like, oh, now we're going to run the ball. We can still run the ball and still lose when Carson Wentz goes on play action, because Carson Wentz can't get out the pocket. I'm just saying, just let the man be who he is. Give him more leeway. Give him more rope. Because again, he has been our most successful quarterback during this regime. He's been the most successful one. He's actually the only quarterback in a very long time that actually has a winning record. I'm just saying, give him a little leeway. But to the Houston game, I'll say this. I do feel that Washington is going to win. I think that they may win better than I think if Scott calls a very good and consistent game plan like he did last week, or like he did on Monday. Trust and believe. We're going to see a win. We're going to win this game coming out of Houston, set to go to Atlanta. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Do y'all feel that Taylor is being just as disrespected as Doug Flutie was, even though he keeps winning? Y'all let me know. Like, subscribe, comment. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.